Hi, this is Richard Olivieri, your instructor. In this video, I wanted to discuss briefly confidentiality. And you can find a lot more material on confidentiality in Chapter 5 of our e-text under the chapter entitled Legal Ethics. I'd like to tell a little story about confidentiality to kind of just get across how important confidentiality is to the attorney-client relationship. Many years ago, I had an uncle that was involved in an altercation with his neighbor, and my uncle was injured as a result of that. Police were called. And sometime after that, my uncle had contacted me and asked me if he could meet with me, have a consultation. He was thinking about possibly suing his neighbor for assault that came about from this incident. Now, aside from those not being usually the very best cases, certainly this is my uncle, and I agreed to speak to him. My uncle came into my office. We had an extensive conversation about the assault, told me all the details. I assessed the different pros and cons of pursuing a potential lawsuit against his neighbor. And then when all was said and done, my uncle decided it wasn't worth him pursuing the matter, and it pretty much just stayed where it was. Fast forward a couple of years later, we were at a Christmas dinner, and while we were at this family gathering, the issue of the altercation with the neighbor had come up. My uncle had told everybody at the table the story, and in the context of the story had mentioned that he had consulted with me regarding possibly suing his neighbor. The dinner ended, and then while I was returning home with my family in the car, I noticed that my mother was acting rather odd and really quiet and kind of as though something was bothering her. And then after prodding a few times, my mother had made known to me that she was very, very disappointed that her brother had come to speak to me about this potential lawsuit and that I did not communicate that to her. Now, my quick reply to my mother was that under the terms of client confidentiality, that I was bound not to speak about that incident, even as it related to a family matter. Even as it related to my mother. And my mother was very disappointed, became very upset with me, and said that, but I'm your mother. How could you not? That doesn't make sense. And I explained to her that even between family members, that the attorney must keep all confidences between the client and the attorney. So I tell you that story, right, because I just want to reiterate to everyone of how important the client-attorney confidentiality is, and that confidentiality extends to the paralegals and to the other legal support staff working in the office. And I just want you to be aware that I know sometimes it can be rather tempting at the end of a work day, particularly if you have an interesting case, or maybe you're working on a case that involves someone of some notoriety or a celebrity, that the tendency is to come home and want to discuss that with your family members. That's a no-no. You cannot do that. You must keep those confidences between those in the firm and not outside of the firm under any circumstance. So keep that in mind. Thanks.